On this special episode of Homeworthy, we're spending the day in East London with Louisa Tratalos, the founder of Colours of Arley. After being inspired by her rescue pup Patch, Louisa set out to create the perfect striped bed for him that eventually led her to launch a brand that specializes in unique bespoke stripes made from recycled materials. In just 2 years, Colours of Arley has taken off, partnering with big names like Goop, Soho Home, and Ladurée. With endless color combinations and timeless design, Louisa helps people follow the stripes into the unique worlds in which they live. So come along as Louisa shows us around the charming streets of Hackney and pays a visit to her friend Christie for a gorgeous floral arrangement before giving us a tour of the fabulous Colours of Arley studio. You won't want to miss this. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Louisa Tratalos and this is my dog Patch and I'm the founder of Colours of Arley. I'd love you to spend the day with me in my studio in Hackney here in London. I've always lived and partied in this area and I never actually thought I'd open a studio. I was a photographer in my former life and a year ago I opened my studio on Hackney Road and it's been an absolute dream come true because the amount of people just walking by, we're right at the end of Columbia Road, which has the famous flower market every Sunday, and the longer I'm here the more I just love the area. So I've been in London for 15 years but I've always favoured East. Most interior businesses are based in the West, but I think there's something so nice about being near my friends who are musicians and chefs, and yeah, that's why I chose to be in Shoreditch. And one of my favourite things about Shoreditch is all the little cobbled streets with all the independent businesses. So there's definitely a feel of a real neighbourhood here in Shoreditch. My friends here at 2 Columbia Road, when I was doing the studio up, I wanted some vintage pieces, so I went in there, introduced myself and got some really nice bits. This bar across the road is actually owned by someone I went to university with, and Christie's studio is almost opposite mine, which helps. She also shares it with a lot of other creatives, whether they're photographers or filmmakers. So we like to dip in and say hi to everyone. It's me and Patch.
Nova's barking.
Nova's saying hi. Hi Nova. I think we met at a party and then we got talking and we decided we wanted to do a project together.
Yeah.
And we came up with this concept of doing a flower arrangement or a flower scene for each zodiac sign. Yeah. So it was flowers.
Such a lockdown project.
And then we went so deep into the mythology behind each zodiac, and it was quite a special project.
It was fun. It was great fun. And then you decided to open the studio, and then it was just obvious we were going to work together. I think we just, because my studio is opposite yours. I always have leftover flowers from the fashion events that I do, and it just made sense to repurpose them in the studio, in your studio.
Yeah, and I think that our whole business is based around reusing things, all our fabrics recycled. So the idea that you have all these amazing flowers that actually don't get any life past the show or the projects that you're working on. So I was like, hang on.
Let me take them.
There's a way to get really nice flowers all the time.
Just figured it out. Don't sell them on.
So I can see lots of nice colours here and lots of height, but what are these?
These are delphiniums, and they're left over from an event I did Wednesday. So what are we now? Friday. So they've got a bit of time in them left. And I think for the tall vase that you were talking of, they'd be really nice.
Yeah.
And because it's blue as well, I think the kind of colour block would be really nice, like 2 tones of blue. You could even do a stripe.
Inspired by.
Exactly.
Yeah, the vases are made of recycled denim, so...
Oh wow, so
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Perfect. What?
Okay.
Onto purple?
We've got these purpley ones. These would be nicer in the smaller vases, but I think again, colour blocking them would be quite cool. Because actually,
There's
have you seen
something...
the pretty little...
Yeah, what colour is that? Is that...
It's just
Dark
like
brown.
A dark brown. They're so pretty. Delphiniums again. They're all basically delphiniums, and then these are scabiosas, which I had left over, which I think are like pretty nice.
I hate the name though. What are they called?
Scabiosa. I
Ooh,
know,
sounds like a disease.
I want to rename them because they're like my favourite flowers, but I hate them.
Let's call them osas, just
Osas.
like for short.
Yeah, right then.
They're so cute.
Some osas ready to go.
Okay, how many can we have?
You can have as many as you like.
Okay, should we get picking?
Yeah, let's do it. So if I just get like a bundle of these, and we'll just go for like the interesting shape ones, because then I think they'll sit nicely in the vases.
Okay, I'll be your vase,
There you go.
your standing vase.
Some of them are losing a few petals, but I think that's fine. That kind of adds to the drama of them.
Yeah, I like it in the studio where
Yeah.
there's a little petal
Which
pass.
makes you know that it's alive, which is obviously really nice.
Patchy, come on. Haven't seen your face.
So I tend to take off the sort of leaves that go sort of, not all of them, I do like a little bit of naturalistic look, depending on what I'm designing, but for something like this, I'd want a few little of the green leaves hanging around, but I tend to take them off of the rest of the stem so that when they sit in water, it's like a clean, it's just like a clean sweep, so they don't get infected. If there's like leaves and bits and bobs in the water, then it tends to get dirty quicker and then they die quicker. So it's nice to keep it sort of like fresh and clean like that. And then, this is obvious, everyone knows it, but trimming at an angle really helps the stem to drink up lots of water, and it just keeps the flowers going. And actually what you'll find is that the closed petals that will then open as long as you keep that process going. So change the water every day, make sure that they're nicely trimmed, make sure it's clean, and then you'll get the best out of them. And then so with this, I'm just trying to make sure it's like there's a lot of height with it, because the vase itself is so tall, and I just want to make sure that what we're looking at kind of proportionally works. So I won't trim much off of these, and actually what I might start to do, because I filled the water up quite high within the vase, I can then start to angle them maybe to touch the sides, so it gives a bit more height as you go, and it's a natural way of arranging without having to put any mechanics in the water. So I'll just take these bits off. And then if I do this, basically you want to start to use the branches to help the arrangement. So then you can get like a different kind of shape. It's always fun doing them in Louisa's shop because the window is such a spectacle that I think people enjoy walking past and seeing what we've done next. I think like weekly we do something so different that it keeps things interesting and fresh.
I was actually looking for a bespoke stripe for my dog Patch's headboard, which I was making into a throne to welcome him into his new life in Hackney. And I couldn't find this specific stripe. And I asked my dad, who has a small factory in Manchester, whether he could make it for me. He said no, he had clients and he was busy. So I went away and I spoke to my interior design friends and I said, how do you source stripes? And the answer was always, oh, it's a nightmare. There's so much waste involved. We have to order 20 samples from different companies and compromise on colour, size, or fabric. So I got back on the phone to my dad and explained that I really need this fabric making for Patch's headboard. And a week later it arrived. And I had this idea to come up with a colour chart and invite people to choose their own colour combination for their own personal stripe, and then I would follow the stripes into all the worlds in which they exist and tell those stories. So we started 2 years ago, and already in that time we've done bespoke stripes for Goop, Ladurée, Soho Home, and lots of homeowners, hotels, restaurants and bars across the world. So I decided to launch the brand based on stripes, which is the only design we actually sell. And if you look into the history, which I have done, you can get quite stripe obsessed with all the different places in which it's popped up, whether that's the uniform of butchers, barbers and fishmongers, or it's even in road signage from zebra crossings. And there's a lot of connotation with the beach, seaside and also childhood. And by choosing a stripe, we're hoping that customers will love this fabric or sofa or cushion or dog bed for years to come. I started my business in September 2022, and the first couple of months it was kind of like a side hustle. And then within a couple of weeks, literally, I was starting to get inquiries from magazines, from influencers here in the UK. And I was like, oh my God, I've got to take this really seriously. So I just hustled. So I was out all the time. Whoever designed a stripe, I would follow the stripe. I'd be like, can I come and shoot you? I want to show everyone why you've chosen this stripe. Show it in its new environment. And it really caught on. People were asking, where can we see the fabrics? How can we choose our stripe? So it was immediately obvious that we needed to open a physical space. So we have our studio here on Hackney Road at the end of Columbia Road, which has the famous flower market. And people come in and with all sorts of different briefs, whether that's I'm designing a hotel in Morocco and I want to choose the colour based on the birds that are in the local area, or we're designing an ice cream shop in Latvia. Can we get some stripes inspired by our best-selling colours? And we're just blown away as a team at the kind of calibre of project. And yeah, we just love to see where the stripes are ending up and all the worlds in which they're born in. So this is our store, welcome. We're really lucky here, we have 3 huge windows. So it was really important that this window, where lots of buses pass by and people cycle to work, that there was something eye-catching, so that's why we have Christie's flowers in the window. And this is our current exhibition, which is by a Swedish artist called Ebba Lindgren. Sorry, I always say it wrong, so I've actually got it on the window. And it's made of recycled denim on the outside, and the white inside is recycled bedding from hotels. So that's amazing. We have this piece here. This is a piece by the ceramicist that me and Christie work with quite a lot, called Bettina Ceramica. And what we tried to do with the stripe above it was we imagined what this horse and this gorgeous riding lady would look like. This is kind of like the colour of the desert and the horse. So that's the front window. So the skirts, as we call them, like this one in the window and this one on our main unit. These are perfect additions to a space to conceal either radiators or create a little focus, bring in some colour. We have seen people hide clutter. I know that that is not very feng shui, but it's also important in real life spaces. We've actually just done a couple for Catbird, the jewellery brand in New York and in other spaces across the US. And they always choose a different stripe for each space, so that's been amazing. Okay, this is coral and tobacco. And we designed this chair to be kind of like the play chair. Like it's kind of like a bit oversized and it's super comfy, and the idea is you can put your legs in it like this, worky, or watch TV. And yeah, we put another cushion in coral and mulberry on top of it just to make it extra bright. Coral's one of our most popular colours. It's also one of our brightest. Okay, so when we were setting up the studio, we were kind of like really brainstorming what is the best way for people to choose their stripe. So we were like, what if we had like a huge wheel that you can spin and you can make your own stripe and the two wheels meet? And we spoke to product designers, and in the end, we realized that actually we should create strips, like single units of stripes that you can literally pull down. So every time people come in for a consultation, they pull down their favorites. They might choose these and some of the pinks, and then we play with them. So we start to mix match. So do they prefer crimson and baby pink or floral and watermelon? And people often come in and they think, oh, I'm not going to get it down to one. And actually, they do. Okay, so the most popular colour combination does not exist because everyone has their own little stripy story. But we have some key players. So I'd say sherbet and maroon, for sure. We have shutters and pear. Where's pear gone? Like the seating area. And then I would say deep rust and baby blue. I honestly don't think we can say. I'm thinking of loads of others now. So when people order a bespoke stripe or check, they get a little certificate, a little sample, so they can look at it in the space, have a little think about it, and if there's a couple of options, they can choose their favourite. So we have 3 different stripe sizes. This is our skinny stripe, which I've made these dog steps for Patch's 10th birthday in squirrel colour with tennis ball piping. This is our midi stripe, a 5 centimetre stripe, which is our medium sized. And this is our grand stripe, our biggest 10 centimetre. For the wallpaper, we also have a jumbo size. And it's really interesting to see the sizing and how people use it in their homes. We've actually been blown away by how many people mix match the stripe sizes. So lots of people have been getting a bench seat made in a midi stripe, and the edges would be in a skinny, and the piping will be in a pop of colour. We found that midi is the most popular for things like Roman blinds, whereas people will go for the grand for like larger items like the curtains. But my favourite of all is the skinny stripe, which I would encourage people to use for absolutely everything. So from the beginning, it was really important to me that the fabric was accessible to people, whether you're a student and you've saved up for 1 metre, which is £85, for a little curtain under your desk in your halls room, or all the way up to commercial designers who are designing hotels, restaurants, bars, all over the world. And I think I always want to keep that element of accessibility, because no matter who you are and whatever your budget, we want you to be able to tell your stripe story, and we love hearing the inspirations behind things. We've had people bringing their pets in to colour match them on the colour wall, to make a sofa where they'll be almost camouflage. Or we've had stories of women who come in and it's a chair that has been inherited by the grandma who's sadly passed away, and the daughter is the client. So the mum will be upholstering for her daughter her late mother's chair. And those kind of like, that's 3 generations in one chair, and the colour combinations and coming up with the stories and like trying to make sure you honour the chair and the person who you've inherited it from. That kind of thing is really important to us. All our fabric is made of recycled plastic bottles, so sustainability is like a huge part of our DNA. So by choosing something that is made to order using recycled fabric, and it's made for you with your personal story, I don't see how you can get much better than that. So one of the most exciting things we do here as a studio is vintage drops. So we work with different collaborators, whether that is like this piece here, which is from our latest drop. We source old furniture from antique fairs, from online marketplaces or online auctions, and we reimagine them in a new stripe or check. So this piece here was from a collaboration with someone called Amy Bannerman. She's a really big stylist over here. She's also the stylist for Love Island. She is known for making them go pre-loved, which is obviously a very noble thing to do. She's also the pre-loved director of eBay. So we just worked with her on a drop of a couple of pieces. So this is our chaise in Swamp and Zest, which I think sits perfectly below the Ben Wakeling painting. So here we've done the midi checker with the skinny stripe frill. We wanted to create a collection of pieces that were unusual colour pairings for interiors and may well be found in fashion. Obviously, with Amy working in the fashion industry, we wanted these pieces that they're so nice that you want to wear them. And yeah, we'll be working on another one very soon. I'm actually in the middle of a renovation, and I was looking for wall lights on vintage markets and online, and I saw this real gap in the market for good wall lights. So we designed these wall lights after realising that it was very difficult to find good second-hand wall lights. People often keep them when they move houses. They keep them in their previous house because they can't be bothered taking them off the wall. Often there's a set of two and one will have been broken. So I thought, do you know what about we launch a bespoke lampshade offering? So we have a very simple sconce, as people call it. So we offer this in your own bespoke choice of stripe on a simple drum like this, a square, or we design something called the half puddle. So it's kind of like a puddle cut in half and put on your wall. Working in fabric, one of the main products that we sell is obviously curtains. I've actually been blown away by the amount of changing room curtains that people have asked us to make. We've done quite a lot of the shops nearby here, whether that's Ada on the High Street or Earl of East around the corner. But one of our biggest changing room projects was Rixo, which is quite a big fashion brand here. And there were 8 changing rooms, and they were all individually named after a place or a person that was significant to their brand. So one was called Cher, one was called Ibiza, and they chose stripes based on these things. And honestly, it looks amazing. So it was important to me when I opened the studio that it's a celebration of local talent and creativity. So we have so many artists who have pieces in here. So I'm going to show you a couple of them as we walk around the studio. So the art in the store is all by Partnership Editions, who are an amazing curation of artists. A lot of them are local here to the studio. So if I talk you through some, we choose them off their website and then they are delivered to us, and they're actually sold from here. So we've sold quite a lot of art from the studio. We post this photo, which often does quite well on social media. We have this piece by Ben Wakeling, which is a huge piece, which looks perfect next to the Swamp and Zest chaise. This pillar is by an incredible artist called Joe Sweeney. It's a lot lighter than it looks, but it's been featured in a lot of magazines, and I think this is the last one left out of the series. This was a collaboration with Martina Moderna, who made these gorgeous little lampshades in the south of France, and they're all inspired by local places to her on the Côte d'Azur. So we like to encourage people to find inspiration in the strangest of places, whether that is a really cool cookery book or a Japanese style interiors book. So that's why we have these here, to get people starting to think about where they might find their inspiration if they don't necessarily have like a sentimental story. So if these books aren't enough for your inspiration, we are lucky enough to have my boyfriend's book archive next door. So I'll take you through the back entrance, but he doesn't let me use this for other people. So when I started the business, I was slightly neglectful of my partner here. Thank you, Nick. And actually this shop became available and the landlord called me and said, do you need any extra space? And immediately I thought, Nick's bookshop, which is an online bookshop, why doesn't he take the physical space? So I called him and I was like, Nick, you've got a new bookshop. And then, yeah, it happened quite quickly.
Yeah, here we are, neighbours.
All day, every day.
I'm Nick, I'm Louisa's other half and neighbour. And I specialise in out-of-print books, mostly in photography, but we do fashion, interior design, which always helps with what Louisa does, film, music. Yeah, and that's...
I'm often sending him out on business errands and I have to cover him in here, so...
Yeah, it's more of a collaborative effort than we initially thought, but we both work with each other
A lot.
And well, though, I would say.
I think so.
We met during...
We met on the park in COVID.
Yeah, we met during, it was kind of when we were coming out of COVID time and people were allowed out, but went back at work and so on. And we'd kind of mixed in some similar circles for a while, but never met. And then just from the second we met, we've pretty much
Been together
every minute since, haven't we? We it only took us about a month before we got patch, and then we moved in together after a couple of months. And then now we're neighbours, so we obviously like spending time with each other.
So if you have an idea and you want to create it into a business, I would say from the small amount of experience I have now, the main thing is utter dedication. You can't have anything else in your life that you're focused on. Everything else becomes secondary and you just kind of focus on what you're doing. And what's so nice about having a creative business is there really is no limit to what you can do with it. Whether that's like Christie being here and doing the flowers, we get a lot of friends or neighbours in the area coming to collaborate with us. We literally talk of ourselves as a toolkit for collaborations. So there's no work, personal life boundaries anymore. We just work and work and work. So I feel like if you've got an idea, just make sure that you love it and you believe in it and you're doing it for the right reasons. I'm doing this to help people tell their story, and that's always been my passion, and it just happens to be in the form of recycled fabrics. Thanks, Homeworthy. Come say hi to us if you're ever in the area. We're on Hackney Road. Bye.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.